friend. It's Landon Stapes.
What's up? What's up?
Here again, and we're excited to shoot this video. Here's why. Inside, what we're going to do is we're actually going to help you start writing your very first Facebook ad. Now, you might be like, Landon Stapes, I don't even have like an ads account set up yet. Do I need that before I write my first ad? The answer is no. So in the next module, what we're going to do is we're actually going to show you how you can go and set up your very own Facebook ads account if you don't have one yet, how you can set up your fan page, which is actually what you run your ads from. If you don't have a fan page yet, we're going to show you how to set that up. We're going to show you a lot of the nitty-gritty technical details of Facebook ads in the next module. But what we want to do first is actually work on writing your ad, because in the last module, we went over your customer avatar. So we talked a little bit about copywriting. So by now, you went and you've asked yourself the 4 questions that you need to answer to be able to write your ad. And it's important, if you haven't done that yet, that you do that you get clear on the problems your avatar feels, which is essentially the problems you felt, because a lot of times you are your avatar in this case. It's important to know what problems they face, what pains they experience, what they want.
Essentially the core messaging
of your ad.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to do in this video is we're actually going to help you start writing that very first ad. And I realize some of you don't even have an ads account yet, and that's okay. We're going to show you how to set up your ads account and how to place this ad in the next modules. What we want to do is just write the ad first. So
when I first started, I wrote my story out in a Word doc, and I didn't even have my Facebook page set up yet.
So it's just a Word doc. You could use Google Docs.
Yeah,
you could write it in a note file on your computer, wherever you want. You just write it. You could write it, handwrite it. Wherever you want to write it, you're just writing. You want to get it out there. You just want to write it, and then we'll show you how to actually place it on Facebook and all of that. So now, there's 2 types of ads that we specialize in. When you go and place an ad on Facebook, there are actually a lot of different kinds of ads you can use. I'll actually show you right now. So I'm going to go to Facebook right now. And so here's Facebook. I have an ads account set up. And so I can actually click on this little arrow here and click Create Ad. And I'll actually show you right now that there are a lot of different kinds of ads you can use, and a lot of them work for different reasons. So when you go to place an ad on Facebook, and again, we're going to show you all of this click by click in future modules. This video, I just want to kind of give you a preview of it. But as you can see, you can have it, Facebook asks you, what's your objective? What do you want the ad to accomplish? And so you can do brand awareness, you can do just reach, you can target for traffic, for engagement. The kind of ad we do is a conversion ad, because we want Facebook to show our ad to people who are actually likely to buy. And it's magical that Facebook knows what people are likely to click on your ad and buy. Facebook knows who is likely to buy, and you can place your ad just in front of that people. It's really, really cool. And so what we do within this is there are different kinds of ads you can use. We specialize in 2, and that is what we call a story ad and a video ad. And we place both of these ads on our fan page, and it actually appears in the news feed of the people we target the ad with. It appears in their news feed just as if it were a regular post from one of their friends. Why do we do that? Well, essentially what we're doing is we're disguising our ad to where it doesn't look like it's an ad.
Yeah, we want our ads to be in the native tongue of how Facebook was originally created.
Exactly. So think about it. Do you get on Facebook and you're like, I want to go on Facebook to buy stuff?
I want to go look at some
advertisements. Or I want to see
some
ads. Is that why you get on Facebook?
You're looking for what? Stories?
You're looking for stories, connection, inspiration. You're on Facebook to see what your friends are up to. And so what we want to do is we actually disguise our ad on Facebook to where it looks like it might have, we're not there yet. It might have just been posted by just one of their Facebook friends. They might think you're one of their friends. And so it's really cool the kind of ads we use.
Essentially, we don't want our ad to look like an ad.
Exactly. So we use a story ad, which is essentially us taking those problems, those pains, the things that we want, the emotions we want to feel. We take all of those things and we wrap it within a story. Again, why? Because that's why people are on Facebook. They love stories. Stories are how people have been communicating. For as long as there's been humans, people have been communicating with stories. As long as there's been communication, it's actually what kept us safe. Those stories were told to keep humans safe so that we would know what danger. So it's hardwired into our DNA to respond to stories. The other kind of ad we use is a video ad, where essentially all we're doing is we're taking this story And instead of using a picture, and we'll show you examples of this in a second, but instead of using a picture with the story, we're essentially just taking the story and inserting it into a video. And your first kind of ad, you can use either a story or a video. We get great results with both. Our clients use both, and we're going to give you examples and case studies of both. So it's kind of just for you. If you feel like you're more comfortable on video, then do a video ad to start. If you feel like you're more comfortable writing an ad with a picture view, do a story ad. They both work really, really well. In fact, here's one of Staves' story ads that did really well. This actually, Staves, you wrote this last year.
I wrote this ad literally right when I quit my job.
Okay, you just quit your job, and how much did it make you the very first month this ad was live?
$9,000.
$9,000.
Yep.
Really, really cool. And how much did you spend on the ad to make that?
I think it was like $800.
Yeah, it was like I think it was under 1,000.
Yeah.
I know for sure. So it's like 800 to make $9,000.
Yeah.
That's a really beautiful thing. Allowed you to be free. So this is one of Staves' story ads. We're going to show you examples and case studies in a second. And then we have a video ad. Here's one of my video ads. You might not be able to tell that it's a video, but it's right here. This video ad of mine got 195,000 people views.
Watching it.
So 195,000 people watched this video. That's amazing.
One of the metaphors I like to use for that is I want you to imagine yourself in 2 football stadiums, right? I want to imagine 2 stadiums filled to the top. Actually, most stadiums are about 50,000.
Yeah.
That's 4 massive football stadiums. And I want you to imagine your video ad playing on the big screen at the same time.
That's incredible.
That's 200,000 people watching your video. That's the power of what we can do with video ads.
Yeah, and to show you some of the results from this ad, I placed it on August 28, 2016. It ran for a couple of months. I know for sure in September of last year, I spent around $2,000 on that ad, and it made me over $16,000. So I made about $14,000 in profit from shooting a 4-minute video.
Yeah, once.
One time, and it ran for me every day. And so what we want to do in this video is designed to talk about story ads. So in the next video, we're going to teach you video ads. This video is designed to teach you story ads. I would actually watch both. And the reason why is we're going to be going over frameworks that actually apply to both stories and videos. So even if you're like, well, I'm going to do a video ad, still watch this video to them because a lot of what we teach you here, you can actually apply into videos.
They'll both fuel each other.
Exactly. So what we're going to do in this video is first we're going to give you the story ad framework, which is actually very simple. It's just 5 simple steps. And then what we're going to do is we have one of our students, Rob Thomas, who's made tens of thousands of dollars using story ads that we taught him.
And he was brand new to Facebook ads when we started working with him as a client.
Absolutely. And so we're going to show you his ad, and we're going to dissect it. We're actually going to show you what Rob did really, really well, what he could have done a little bit differently, so that you have a good idea of how this works. And then at the bottom of this document, you'll have access to this document too. At the bottom of it, we have links to another 4 ads. So you can actually check out a couple of different ads. And then in one of the later modules of this Facebook ads training, all it is an entire module of just pure case studies where me and Staves sit down and we just review ad after ad after ad. So if you'd like to see even more case studies, you can jump to that module. But let's get started. So what is the story ad framework? Now, there's a lot of ways we could teach story ads. So we could have taught you specifically, it's like, okay, sentence 1, you want to use this exact, you want to start with a question, you want to use this exact word. And then sentence 3, you want to make sure you insert this word and you open up a loop. There's a lot of ways we could have taught this, but what we did was we distilled everything down into 5 simple steps. And the reason we did that was after a while of doing this, I probably placed a couple of dozen ads myself. And after a while of doing them, I realized that all of the ads, they were a little bit different, right? Like some ads, I had an open loop at the beginning. What's an open loop? An open loop is like, hey, I'm going to share with you this secret, but before I do, let me tell you this, which captures attention, right? A lot of big movies do that, or you might see at the very end of a TV show, there's that hook, you know what I mean? That hooks you to the next one. So that's just an open loop. And I realized that some of my best ads, so when I first started teaching it, I told everyone, I'm like, you have to start off with an open loop. And then I did an ad without an open loop, and it crushed it. And so I'm like, wait a second, so an open loop isn't a necessity, but it can help. And what I realized, though, was that all of my successful ads followed essentially these 5 steps. Now, every now and then the ad might be a little out of order with these 5 steps. And so it isn't like, okay, I have to hit attention first. And then you can hit them in different orders, in different modalities. Sometimes You might dive really deep into the pains and less into the pleasure and solution, and that's okay. This is just a framework. Your story is loose, right? Write something beautiful.
Because there's specific strategies that we teach when writing a story out, and we'll go over a few of them, but the core that you want to really stick with and follow are principle-based. Exactly. And what we're going to do here is these 5 principles to a story ad is really what's important. The strategies, they change, tactics change. There's 100 ways to write a good movie. Yeah. But if you follow a good movie, they always have core principles to like release the film, release the script. So well, that's what we're going to do essentially here.
Well said. So what is the framework? And for sure, write this down. You will have access to this workbook, but I would definitely write it down too so that it's imprinted in your memory, and imprint this for life, because we don't just use this in story, right? Whenever we shoot a webinar, guess what framework we follow? This framework right here. Whenever we do a video, guess what framework we follow? This framework. Whenever we send an email, any important piece of content where we really want to move people, what framework do we follow? This. And so, 10 years from now, Facebook might not be the popular advertising medium. There could be an advertising medium that's popular 10 years from today that's not
a new app that doesn't even
it's not even created at the time of us making this video, and it's the #1 thing. And guess what's still going to work? This structure right here.
We want to teach you timeless info that you can go and apply for the rest of your life.
Exactly. So what's the very first step? The very first step is to gather and to catch attention. We want to get attention. And so what we do in our app, and again, we're going to show you Rob's full story of this in a second.
Because remember, before anyone pays with their credit card, they pay with their attention.
They pay with attention first. We obviously want people to pay with money. That's when we make money. But first they give us just a little bit of attention. They say, that's interesting. So there's usually some sort of big idea or a big claim at the very beginning. And we're going to show you Rob's story out in a second and exactly how he did that. But it's something big that catches their attention where they know, okay, this is what this story is going to be about. You want to get to the point fast to really catch it. Like a lot of the big movies, that very first scene is big and massive and has entertaining value. And the reason they do that is they want to hook you in. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so we want to hook the people in. We want to where they read the very first sentence of our ad and they're like, this is going to be interesting. Yeah. This is going to be good. I want to read
It's an important piece of the story.
Exactly. And we do the same thing in video, by the way. In fact, the video ad framework is the exact same framework. Yep. But we'll talk about how to put it in the video because there's slightly more nuanced things for video that isn't in the story yet. We'll talk about that in the next video. So we start off with attention. We'll show you how Rob did that in his ad here in a second. Then what we do next is, remember in the last video we talked a little bit about the avatar. We went over the questions of pain, problems.
Yep.
Well, guess what we're going to talk about number 2?
That's when we're going to bring him back.
The pain and the problem. So what does every good movie have at the beginning of the movie?
Always.
Conflict, right? Every good movie has a good conflict. If the superhero, everything is great.
For example, for Superman. Yeah. If Superman was this perfect specimen that had no problems.
Yeah, no flaws.
He just comes to Earth and saves the whole world.
There's no kryptonite.
There's no kryptonite. There's no conflict.
It doesn't exist. There's no bad guys.
That's literally boring. People fall in love with character flaws.
Yeah, they fall in love with the flaws. And not just that, they fall in love with the problems. Yeah. They fall in love, like if there wasn't a bad guy, what's the point of Superman? Yeah. Superman wouldn't even have a purpose, right? If we didn't have our pains and our problems to share. And what this also does, so number 1 is it makes the story interesting and entertaining. See, whenever we're doing any sort of content, just as much as educational, we want to be entertaining, which is called, what's that called?
There's a couple different things happening now. There's valuetainment.
Okay,
and then there's edutainment. But really, that's a big key, especially in this day and age. People want to be entertained and they want to be educated. And when you can combine both, you're in a magic place.
And I realize it's like, okay, we're talking about our problems and that entertains other people. Yes. Oh, unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, again, it's Superman having the bad guy that makes Superman worth watching. Yeah. And so it is entertaining. The other thing it does is it builds rapport, because the reality is, what did we do in the last thing? We asked ourselves, what problems does the avatar face? Well, in our story ad, what problems are we talking about that we faced? The same problems as our avatar. Exactly. Why are we doing that? Because it builds rapport. See, imagine for a second, you go to a party, right? So imagine this is a party, you're at this party, and you don't know anybody there. You don't know anybody there, so you're kind of standing in the corner. You've got your little punch in your hand, you're holding a little styrofoam cup of punch, and you've got people, they're around, they're hanging out, they're having a blast, and it's just kind of you by yourself. And then someone kind of wanders up, right? And he's kind of standing, it's just you and this other guy in the corner, and you're making like small talk. It's like, how's the weather? And there's nothing, whatever, right? You know what I mean? But then all of a sudden the guy's like, I can't believe the Chicago Bears lost last week. And you're like,
you're from Chicago?
Yeah, you're from Chicago. You're like, I'm a massive Bears fan.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's like this massive light bulb that goes off, and all of a sudden you like each other. Why? Because humans like other humans who are like them.
Yeah.
So when we say, here's a pain and a problem I experience, and we're talking a little bit about our vulnerabilities, and all of a sudden the person reading that ad is like, wait a second, I have that same problem.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding,
and
ding.
What I kind of like to call this too, since it's a different experience, so it's not somebody in front of you engaging, we like to create like a relaxed relatability. It's a relaxed relatability where they can sit in front of their computer or on their phone and passively, without the awkwardness of responding, relate to your problems. And they're in a relaxed state, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden they're leaning in and they're like, it's like they're talking directly to me. This is me. Your goal of your ad is to do one thing. It is to talk to one person and have that person who's reading your ad say, good God, this guy is describing me. I am this person, right? Like our best ads, we are the person reading the ad. And a lot of times when you hop on the phone or when we get into contact, it's like, I felt like your ad was talking directly to my problems, directly to me. And guess what? That's why I'm going to get started. And guess what? There are thousands of people who say that because we're so clear on who we're talking to. So why did in the last video, did we ask ourselves what problems does the avatar feel? Because we all experience those. Because we are going to be sharing those problems in this app. Exactly. We're going to frame it within ourselves. We're not going to say, oh, you struggle with talking to friends and family, or you struggle paying your bills. No. That would all of a sudden be confrontational. We don't want to be confrontational in our ad. So we frame it within a story about ourselves to where it's like, I struggled with this. And we share our vulnerabilities. When you can share your vulnerabilities a little bit, I know there's some men watching this that are like, I'm not good at being vulnerable, and I get it. Trust me. Authenticity is the new currency in today's day and age. It's rare. It's scarce. People love you for it. Be real. Freaking fall in love with you. And what do we want? We just want them to be like, this person's like me. They get me. And so we talk about the pains and the problems a little bit. Then what we share is the turning point. And again, we're going to give you one example in this video, and then we have an entire module. You can see it in the module selections. That's just pure case studies where we give example after example. So you can really see that in real life a bunch of times over and over again. And again, when you're going to write your ad, there's no specific number. It's like, well, Landon, how many problems should I talk about? How many pains should I talk about? There is no specific thing. You're going to see examples where they talk about one problem and they go really deep in that one problem. You'll see examples where it's 3 problems and they're going a little bit shallower at each. There's not a specific, and it's hard because growing up in school, there is a specific right way of doing everything. And if you don't do it that specific right way, you get this big fat F. And the rest of our life, we're all just afraid of getting an F. That's all, like almost everything we're doing. Even just seeing an F in red words with a circle around it, you'd be a little sweaty. But here's the thing. In the real world, in the entrepreneurial world, there is no right way. There is no F's. It doesn't exist. There is no failure. There's only feedback. Your very first ad you place, that's true. It might not get the best result ever, but that's just feedback saying let's make some tweaks. What the practical world calls failure, marketers, internet marketers, entrepreneurs call testing. Feedback. It's just feedback. It's just the market saying make some tweaks. It's not even a big deal. I don't experience the emotion of failure. It doesn't happen. No. Like I don't. Because remember what we just talked about in the beginning? What are you? You're pre-committed. I'm pre-committed to figuring it out no matter what. And so I don't even feel it. I just see it as feedback. It's data. Yeah, exactly. And so there's not a right specific way. There's a million ways to do this ad. Really what you want to do is just get clear on your own story. You're just writing from your heart, and if you do that, you'll win big. Exactly. You'll win big here. So then what we do is we share the turning point. So we had all these problems, all these frustrations, these pains, but then there was something that happened, or something we did that changed
everything. Now, there's two types of turning points, and I want to talk about both. There's what's called an internal turning point. An internal might be, it might be, okay, I was out, for example, I'll give you one of mine. One time I was out to dinner with my girlfriend. We were eating at a pizza restaurant, and I went up to pay for the pizza or whatever, and my credit card was declined. And I didn't have any other, like I had no form of paying for it. And I had to go to my girlfriend and be like, you're gonna, like, can you stop? And it was like embarrassing and humiliating. Like I still, like I can feel it right now. And literally when I got home that night, I was like, never again. I am going to support the people around me. This will never happen again. It was an internal turning point. It's where I stepped into one level more serious into my business. I took my game up just a notch, and I was like, never again. I'm gonna be a provider here. I'm gonna figure this freaking thing out. So that was an internal turning point. Then you have external, which might be you found something. So for you, it could be
somebody
or a person. It's more of an external. So it could be I found a mentor. I found this training program. I found this system. I found this business.
I read a book.
I read a book. It's more of an external. You found something. So in our ads, you can use both. We usually use one in an ad. It's usually I found this.
A good idea where I start is what happened to me. Where was I? Where was I?
Yeah.
You know, you could have been like, I came home from work one night. My head was pounding. My feet ached. Yep. My wife was in the kitchen or whatever. We were struggling, and all of a sudden, I turned on Facebook and I was scrolling through and I found a webinar or a post just like this. Yeah. And I found a mentor and he showed me this, and everything in one moment changed. Yeah. Like whatever the story is.
The decision was I decided to start an online business.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is, and we'll give you real clear examples of this.
Yeah.
We usually choose one, not that you can't use both. You can totally do internal and external both. We usually just choose one, and sometimes it's a combo, right? It might be like, I heard, my wife was complaining about money, and I didn't know what to do. Then I found the ad on Facebook, and everything changed, which would be internal and external. But that's essentially the turning point. We'll give you examples.
And we'll make it, don't overthink it either. This is something that if we can break down really simple, we'll actually show an example where you can do this in one sentence.
So if we were doing a story ad for golf clubs, it would be like, then what happened was I found the golf club 9,000, and all of a sudden I went out and I hit a home run. That's a different. That's a different hit.
Landon, remember, he doesn't golf.
And so we have turning point. So then what we do is we talk a little bit about the pleasure or the solution or what happened next. So then it's like I found this turning point. I plugged into this business, and now all of a sudden, now there's two ways you can do the pleasure solution. Yeah. There's way number one, which is if you have results. So some of you watching this, you've already gotten results with the thing you're selling. So if you're selling a weight loss thing, some of you've actually already lost some weight on it. If you're selling a business opportunity, some of you have already made money in that business. If you're selling the golf clubs, some of you have already hit the perfect swing with the golf clubs. So you've already gotten a result with it. Some of you might be in a new situation where you haven't got a result yet. So you joined a weight loss network marketing company and you're selling a weight loss product. You haven't lost weight with it yet. Or you joined the business opportunity to make money online and you haven't made money with it yet. Or you bought the golf clubs, you haven't, whatever it is, like you haven't gotten a result yet. And we'll talk about what do you do if you haven't gotten that. So if you have gotten the results already, you can actually share them here. So it could be like, I found this business, then I plugged in, I did exactly what they said, and 2 weeks later, I had my first $1,000 day, and I felt freaking incredible. And you share that result. Or it could be, I found this weight loss product. I was skeptical of it at first. Obviously, I tried a bunch of things in the past that never worked, but then all of a sudden, I combined this weight loss product with a little bit of eating healthy. I lost 10 pounds.
Looked myself in the mirror one day, and I saw I felt the confidence and
my husband was like, wow, you look great.
I got that twinkle in my husband's eye again.
Yeah, I went out to brunch and my girlfriends were like, what are you doing? You look fantastic, girl. Or whatever it is.
And the cool thing here to talk about the pleasure and the solution, they can be both external and internal as well. Because when I first started, I was talking more about my emotional transformation.
Exactly.
I didn't have a lot of external results yet.
Yeah, so that's the question. The question is, Landon states, I'm brand new. I just joined the business, or I just started this weight loss thing. Like, what do I do if I'm selling something I haven't got results with yet? What do I do? States, share.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like, I used to walk around shopping malls, kind of like you, knocking on doors. All of a sudden, the turning point happened. I met a mentor, changed everything. And now, for the first time in my life, I have the confidence and the peace of mind knowing that I have an international global business. I have Facebook ads running me 24 hours a day, and now I'm positioned to make $1,000 commissions. I'm now positioned to do this. I'm now positioned to do that. It's an internal, and talk really about the internal emotions, because there's a lot of pleasure in that.
It's so, and there's two levels. So there's two levels.
That make sense?
No, that's freaking perfect. Cool. And there's two levels. So there's even a level deeper. So there's the kind of the top level, which is I'm now positioned for $1,000 commissions. Yeah. Then there's a level deeper. So states, why do people want to make $1,000?
They want
more stuff. They want the emotion, but what they actually want, first they want to be able to travel more. So now it's like I'm positioned to like earn commissions. So now I can actually start traveling. I can actually start spending more time with my family. It's amazing. You know, now I'm around a group of people who are thriving and energetic and excited about life.
You can still talk about the external results even though they haven't happened yet, because that's what you're positioned. That's what you're moving towards. That's what you're moving forward to.
And so that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. And then you talk about the emotions behind those things. So then it's like, you know, like growing up, me and my family, we didn't get to travel much. You know, I saw my dad, my parents, they kind of struggled with money a little bit. And so I couldn't really travel much. So one of my dreams growing up was just to see the world. And now all of a sudden I'm in a business where that's possible. Yeah. And I'm so freaking excited. Yeah. Or whatever the story is. So, and again, this right now, I get it. Like, here's your brain right now. And all of this is just kind of like fuzzy, right? It's not clear yet. As soon as we show you examples of this in real life, you'll be like, aha.
And a lot of times, too, getting it all on paper, where you can kind of structure things, you can move things around. Once you get the painting down, the story down, you'll see how all this comes into play and makes sense. And, of course, we're giving you permission to make tons of different edits here, tons of different varieties. This isn't like you write one story out and you're good to go for the next year. We're going to be continually showing you how to kind of recraft, retweak, re-edit this to create like a nice, perfect painting for yourself.
Absolutely. And so what's next? So after we go over, like, here's what we're excited about, here's what we've done, here's the pleasure and the happiness and the emotions and the endorphins and the dopamines, what do we do next? Well, then we just simply tell people what we've got and what to do next. So
this is a big piece.
Yeah, this is really important.
If you don't tell people what to do, even though you can assume it, of course, the next step is to click the link and check it out. You don't tell them to do it, they're not going to do it, period.
So what we have is what we call a lead magnet, which is essentially something that we're going to position in our ad for free that they get for clicking on the link in our ad. So, and this could be a variety of different things. If you're in, let's say you're selling golf clubs, the free thing could be a free 7-minute training video on how to have the perfect swing. Yeah. They watch that video, and then at the end of that video, you could sell the thing, right? You know, you
7 minutes to get you 70 more yards.
yeah, exactly. And then at the end of that, you know, it's like, hey, you know, like, you can do this just based on what I taught you, but if you want to make it even better, check out these clubs. Yeah. Whatever it is, right? Yeah. So, you know, in our industry, a lot of times our lead magnet is a free webinar. And so a lot of people who work with us and are affiliates for our stuff, they're using our free webinar. So that's what you've got. It's like, we have a free webinar that's going to teach you the link. So it's providing value for free. And then usually at the end of this value is some sort of a sales presentation, is essentially. So it could be a free webinar, it could be a free ebook, a free PDF, it could be a free cheat sheet. Your free thing could be a variety of things. It's just free value in exchange for them to click on the link. Mm-hmm. Because people, they want offers, you know what I mean? Yeah. They don't want, we don't sell. See, here's the thing. We don't sell the golf clubs in the ads. No. We don't sell the business. This isn't the time to sell the business opportunity. They just met you.
Just selling the next step.
Yeah, essentially, it's kind of like when you meet a girl and you see a cute girl across the way you go, and you don't see the cute girl go up to her, and you're like, you get on your knee and propose. You just met. Yeah. No. You say, hey, do you want to go on a free date? Yeah. I'll buy you a dinner. You know what I mean? It's a free value in exchange for time. Right. And then you do that for a little while, then she's ready to marry.
Usually it's like, can I get your number? You get that piece of information first.
That's true.
So here, well, a lot of times what we do is we collect their email.
Oh, wow. Something free. We're great now. Save your metaphor, man. We really are. So, exactly. So we're making small, again, what's the goal here, Staves? For someone to pay with what?
Well, obviously the end goal is money. It's for them to pull out their credit card and purchase.
Money. But before we get there, they first pay with attention, and then they pay with a click, and then they pay with their email address, and then they pay with watching the full
More
webinar,
attention.
and then they pay with money.
Yeah, exactly.
And so essentially all we're doing is we're saying there's this free thing. So it could be, we'll show you an example of this in a second. So we've got this free webinar. It's going to teach you blank, 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 blank. Or we've got this free PDF. We've got this free thing. It's going to, here's the value you're going to get for clicking on it. And then here's exactly what to do. So what you need to do is click this link. As soon as you click the link, you go to enter your email address, and you are abundantly, over the top, insanely clear on exactly what they need to do next. So essentially,
and sometimes you even tell them more than once.
Yeah.
We'll show you how.
We actually like inserting 2 to 3 links and 2 to 3 call to actions in our ads, because the more times you tell people what to do, the more likely they are to do it. And so we tell people usually more through punts. And because here's the thing. So this kind of marketing is called direct response marketing. And what's the root word of direct response marketing, Staves?
Surprising.
Direct.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, it's too direct.
Yeah.
It's too direct.
Some people call it instant response. Direct response is the core kind of curriculum.
So we want to direct people on what to do. And if you don't direct people on what to do, they just won't do it. Even though you think it's freaking obvious, there's the link right there. They know it. They don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know unless you tell them. I mean, here's an example. So the other day I was eating at a restaurant, right? And so I went up to pay for my meal. So here's me. I'm going up. I have my debit card in my hand.
This is a great story. Yeah. Never assume anything.
So this is the little thing. I swipe the debit card in the thing. I swipe it, and he's like, the total's $9.45, sir, for your burrito here. I swipe my credit card, and I'm like, or my debit card, and I'm like, I'm good to go, and I'm just waiting. And then we have another guy sitting here, and this guy's just looking at me. Just looking. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, you're going to give me a receipt. I'm waiting. He's waiting. It's awkward for everybody. And then after a couple of minutes of this, he's like, oh, you got to enter your PIN. And I'm like, and I should have known, right?
Yeah,
he thought I should know. I probably should have known. It was obvious it said enter PIN right after a swipe, but I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And it cost both of us our time. It cost both of us time and effort.
Guess why? You were probably thinking about the salad you're about to eat. You're probably stepping into your pleasure. Just like the people are reading your stories. They're not thinking about what to do. They're thinking about their future self. You actually have them entangled in a story that's inspiring, that's motivating them to, like, they're in their head.
So don't assume.
Don't
assume they know what to do. Tell them what to do. In our videos, how many times do we tell people to click the button and not follow up? Like 20 or 30.
Yeah.
And so that is the framework. It's simple. It's 5 steps. It's number 1, catch attention. Number 2, dive into the pain and the problems. Number 3, say what happened that changed it all. Number 4, go over the pleasure and how you feel now. Number 5, tell them what to do next and what you've got for them. Let's show you an example. So this is an example from Rob. I'll show you. I'll pull up the picture so you can see it.
Rob's kind of made tens of thousands with us.
Yeah, Rob's made tens of thousands of bucks with us. So here it is. So there's 2 pieces. Now, number 1, the first piece of your story ad is an image. And so below this video, we actually have a booster training with Staves where he actually goes over the perfect picture. And so watch that training for the image. That's kind of part 1 of this.
It's kind of like a mini little photography course. It gives you insight on lighting, on angles, on psychology, on background, on smiles, on a couple different things, and you'll learn a lot.
What we like to do for this type of ad is we like to use a lifestyle picture. And the reason why is, and again, there's all different, you guys are in all different kinds of niches. So for some of you, it might be weight loss. You might have a picture of a fit, smiling girl, right? That would be more appealing for weight loss. If you're selling golf clubs, it might be someone hitting the perfect ball. You know what I mean? In our industry, what do people want?
Lifestyle.
They just want a better life. They want to travel a little bit more. So like Rob, what did he use? A picture of him on a mountain with his family. That's what people want. And what we like is smiling faces will get the highest conversions, the highest click-through rates. There's studies, there's science on that. So
and a smiling baby too. She's got both in this one.
And so we use that. It works really, really well. We've tested it. Just take our word. We've made a lot of mistakes. I've done pictures where it's a cool picture of me on a beach with the picture. It's at my back with me looking over the ocean. Guess what? Didn't do near as well as that same picture with me facing the camera. Because they want to see.
Remember,
people want to see faces.
What's the native tongue of Facebook? What's the native tongue? Faces, people. Face. That's funny. I actually just figured that out. But face
So we prefer life stuff. So if you don't have it, you're like, I don't have any good pics, go take some. Go to downtown around your town. Go to the countryside. Find a good, inspiring picture.
We actually teach some of our clients to go through older photos of old vacations, of old, really good moments with their family or their life, really.
Exactly.
You can use other images.
Exactly. And so this is the ad that Rob used. And what we've done is I've actually copied and pasted that exact ad over here and added in the framework into it so that you can be really clear on each of the pieces. So a couple of
and one thing keep in mind, respect Rob Thomas here. Don't copy his ad word for word. We're going to give you some ideas.
Let's do a couple of notes because I like where you're at. So note number 1, do not copy Rob's ad. Don't do it. It's not cool to Rob. Here's what I would do. I would read through it and I wouldn't even have Rob or anybody's ad open while you're doing it.
And here's why. So when I first had wrote my story ad, I had an example story ad that I wanted to follow. I had one blank sheet on one side of my computer and the story ad on the right. And I was like, okay, I'm going to write my attention grabber. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at my blank page, I'm looking at the other ad, and I start. I'm like, okay, I'm going to write it out. Well, dang it, that's exactly the same. And then what happened was it actually clogged my creativity. It actually slowed down the fluid, the liquidity of my words, and I was stuck, and it put me in kind of a cage with my the ability to write. So what I did was I read it twice, and I just stuck with it, and then I opened up a blank slate, and I just started writing, and I let my own words, my own emotions, my own style kind of come into the page, and that's what we recommend.
Yeah, because here's the reality. There is no one specific line or one specific word that makes the entire thing work. The reality is right now on Facebook, there are literally thousands of different story ads, all with different styles, all with different attention grabbers, that are all different, that all work. And so it's not like, well, I have to write it just like Rob, but no. Like, this is an example. So that's number 1.
And we'll give you a couple different examples. And you'll notice that we're all making thousands. And every word is different.
And every word is different. They're all different styles. So it's just you thinking about your own attention grabber. You thinking about your own story, your own problems, your own pains. You do not have to copy anybody else to have a good ad. You alone is good enough.
Your marketing, one more thing before we move forward is another thing is you are a magnet to other people that are just like you. So you'll actually notice that if you stick yourself into another person's framework, it's going against your nature. It's going against who you are. So when you write in your own words and you write in your own emotion, you'll actually notice that you'll start attracting people that are just like you. And and the conversions of whatever product you sell will be much higher because it makes sense. It's going with the grain of nature against going against
Exactly. So if you're reading Rob's ad, and let's say you're a 55-year-old stay-at-home mom, you might not write the same ad as Rob has, and that's okay. Because you know what? There are plenty of 55-year-old stay-at-home moms that want to read your story just as it is. And so whoever you are, people want to read you. So you don't copy, for one, just out of the ethical and like out of integrity, but 2, you just don't have to. You don't need to. It's not even the best way to do it. Number 2, this ad is not gospel. So Rob, actually, we're going to show this ad, and it's good, and it worked, and it made him money. But at the same time, it's not perfect. We're actually going to go over some of the mistakes he made, some of the things he could have done better, which shows that you can actually make mistakes in your ads and still have it crushed. It doesn't have to be perfect, which is one of the reasons we chose this ad, because it worked even though it wasn't perfect. So you don't have to have the best, crystal clear, best ad in the world for it to work. Good enough. And over time, as you write more and more ads, those mistakes will wane out and you'll get better and better. So it's not gospel. So look at it, read it, understand that like this is good enough, but it's not perfect, and there are things that you can do, and we're going to teach you some things that like, hey, he did this. We don't even recommend doing that. Does that make sense, James?
100%.
You ready to dive in, my man?
Let's do it.
Cool. So here we go. So he starts off with the attention. And so now there's a lot of different ways you can do attention. He did kind of a story attention grabber where it's about himself. So, and I've done that before, where my very first is like, hey, I just found out that I just made my first $1,000, or whatever it is. Like, it's about me. Sometimes, though, I do it about the reader, where it's literally kind of like a how-to attention grabber. So he did kind of a story about him attention. That worked. Sometimes I also do a how-to attention, where it's literally like, here's how to start an internet business that pays you while you're traveling the world, or whatever it is, right? Here's how to do something those are kind of our two favorites. Sometimes you also use questions. Like, do you want to see the #1 secret to whatever? You know what I mean?
Right.
So we use questions, how-to stories. There's not a specific way. It just needs to be grabbing. So here's what he used. He says, and then I obviously added this in the original.
Yeah.
It didn't say #1
attention, everybody.
Yeah. It didn't say pain problem. I added these myself so that we could show it to you.
I have used the thing that said attention network marketing.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
that's
whatever.
True.
I was going to say, let's just read it and then we'll go over why.
Exactly. Yeah. So he just says 3 years ago. And so one thing he did is he put all of these in quotations. You don't even have to do that. Right?
Yeah.
I've never done that. Not to say that it doesn't work, whatever it is.
Sometimes on the first line's cool because people like quotes.
Yeah.
For every sentence, if Rob was sitting next to me right now, I'd be like, I don't know if it's necessary on the whole story.
Yeah.
Once you get people reading, the quotes kind of fall, they kind of disappear.
Exactly.
So on the first sentence, cool, whatever.
And sometimes we actually use conversation and then have a quote around the conversation.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
Like, I was talking to my boss and I was like, dude, I can't do this.
A little copywriting tip, you can write this down, like Landon just said, using dialogue in your story to where all of a sudden I looked at the boss one day and I said, I can't do this anymore. You can have I can't do this in your own quotes. That's just an example. It's a little copywriting secret. It catches the eye.
Yeah, it catches the eye and it's unique. Yeah. It's interesting. All of a sudden you're in a story. All of a sudden they're seeing you in their mind's eye having that conversation. It's really powerful.
You'll notice in some of the story examples down below, in my story I use dialogue once or twice.
Cool. So he says 3 we're finally getting it. So here we go. So he says 3 years ago, my wife and I thought it would be a good idea to create an internet business instead of going to school and getting real jobs like all of our friends. And so here's essentially what this is doing. What he's doing is actually picking out his avatar. So his avatar is someone who's interested in internet business, right? So essentially, and this isn't the best attention grabber in the world, we could actually have an attention grabber that actually hits on more pain or more pleasure, where it's like, 3 years ago, my wife and I, we thought it'd be a great idea to start an internet business, even though all my friends and family thought we were crazy for doing it. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's even a little bit more compelling. So again, Rob did good and this worked. We can make it even better. And I want you to, anytime you write something, do the best you can, get it out there, and then look to improve it as you go. Yeah, one of the big tips here for the first sentence is always use one of the keywords, essentially the internet business, that's a keyword. Yeah. And really, if you're targeting people that want to start businesses, you want to speak to them. Yeah, you're essentially calling them out. So usually if I'm targeting internet marketers, I use internet marketing in the first sentence. If I'm targeting network marketers, I use internet marketing, vice versa. Yeah. Just a little tip there for the first sentence. I usually always use one of the big keywords that we're targeting. Exactly. To kind of make sure, okay, I'm in the right place. Yeah, exactly. Because someone who's interested in internet business, they read this headline like, I thought it'd be a good idea to create an internet business instead of going to school and get a real job like my friends. Hey, I did that. I did that same thing. That's just like me. I'm going to see what this person has to say. And then what does he do next? So then he gets into pain. He actually starts pain here, but this is when he really dives in. But it says the first 2 years were an absolute nightmare. And then you have pain problems. So what's the thing? Attention, pain problem. Here it is. It says our close friends and family would laugh at us and constantly swarm us with belittling comments and disappointment. On top of that, we also had our own doubts and had no idea how to make it. And this is Rob's story. And this is Rob's real story. So your pain problem is your pain and problem. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whatever that is. It could be totally different things. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Your pain is your own. Yeah. It's unique to you, and there are thousands of people around the world who've had your pain. And one thing too, we have pain in a lot of different areas of our life. Yeah. Sometimes it's, so what we want to do is we want to talk to the pains related to our industry, our niche, our interests. Yeah. We're not talking about back pain because we're overweight. We're not selling back. We're talking about pains directly related to our niche. Exactly. Great. So grab the list that we created earlier. Exactly. Yeah, we used that's why we did those questions. So then he says, so then he's just continuing to tell the story. We dove into internet marketing world. These are filler, and head on and scooped up every product training system that we get our hands on, racking up $35,000 in credit card debt. You want to talk about how that's powerful, the 35K? One of the strategies in copywriting we do is called price conditioning. Yeah. And showing Rob here, now if you spent a few $1,000s on courses and it hasn't worked, let people know. If you've done some things, because it shows, number one, you have skin in the game. Yep. It shows that you've tried some things. It shows that you're not just, 35K in credit card debt. Wow.
this guy's been in the game. And when the turnaround comes, like I said, no good story is good without conflict.
Yeah, this is Rob's conflict. Is that he wanted to be an internet marketer, right? That was his dream. Be an internet marketer. He's like, I'm not going to get a real job like my friends. I'm going to be an internet marketer. And then all of a sudden, they're buying up all the training products and everything in the world, and it's not working. Instead of working and they live in the dream, they're 35 G's in credit card debt. And so that's the conflict of this story. We wanted so badly to crack the code, but nothing was working for us the way they said it would. After many sleepless nights. So again,
good pain point.
He's hitting pain.
A lot of people have sleepless nights. It's a real thing.
We could even see, like, one thing that Rob could have done differently is use more emotion words. So we have after many sleepless nights. We can go back to our emotion wheel.
And we'll add the wheel here.
Why don't I not? What would I do if I didn't?
So this emotion wheel, you know, one of the things, you know, with what we do here, me and Landon and a lot of our top students, is they step into a little bit more of an obsession with words. We become more word people, you know, and this word wheel is super powerful. It'll make your language more dynamic. It'll make your writing more compelling. And this is the word wheel, if you want to.
Yeah, exactly.
We broke it down the last video.
So it's kind of like, okay, so many sleepless nights, how would that make you feel? Like tap into that. Like, how would it make you feel if you all of a sudden had many sleepless nights? You'd probably feel a little disappointed, disgusted. You'd feel, there's so many words here. You were like, you know, all of a sudden, like, I wasn't sleeping that well, and
overwhelmed.
My wife felt a little distant. I felt distant from, like, I had my baby who I loved, but I felt distant because I didn't know if I could provide. Like, now all of a sudden, we're hitting people in the freaking heart, and that moves people just a little deeper. Rob, if you're watching this, let's hit people a little deeper.
How I would use the word wheel is I would sit down and I would just purge your story out. Write it out without a lot of edits. Just let your kind of heart strings go. Just type, get it all out, and then, like we're doing now, go back into the story, and if you have a word that says sad, you come in here and you throw a different word in. If you have one that says proud, you come in and you throw a different word in. And that's what I would do.
And on top of just that, so on top of just, so I'm going to replace one emotion word with an even better emotion word. You can also look at, like, okay, this event happened. How did that event make me feel? So for Rob, it was sleepless nights. How did having sleepless nights make me feel?
For example,
could have been like,
go up. You can show them.
I
like what you just did.
But so it'd literally be like, here, I'll scroll down here.
The sleepless nights one.
Here it is. After many sleepless nights. It could have been like after, I accidentally just opened up a new tab. I'm still dialing in the pen here. So
like you said, though, after many sleepless nights,
I began to feel a little distant from my own family. Like
and physically overwhelmed.
Like I had trouble actually looking at my wife in the eye because I was so embarrassed.
On top of that, feeling physically drained and not be able to perform at work.
At the workplace, like, see, oh my gosh.
Can't perform at that either. Just kidding.
But just imagine the
eventually.
And then eventually, after all of that, I was like, I gotta make this work. And finally, things turned. It's a little bit more like you watch a movie, when it hits you at a level deeper, you just remember it longer. You know what I mean?
You do.
You remember the movies where you feel a little bit more emotion than the movies that don't. You like them a little more. And so
that's a couple examples.
That's just some things. But just dive into your pain, your vulnerabilities. If you share that with the world, you'll be so unique, so sought
People
out.
trust you more.
Rapport through the roof.
Transparency is a very valuable thing online.
And so then he has this turning point, very simple, right after. So pain. Then he says, here's what happened. Things began to change very quickly for us once we discovered a hidden secret that we call our 3-step formula. And one tip I have for Rob is to actually make this even more unique. So it's like, so a lot of times in art, we have a thing, one of our products is called the high ticket freedom formula. So instead of even 3-step formula, I'd say the high ticket freedom formula. Or just like give it more teeth, you know what I mean? Like
the 3-step formula that showed us how to quit our jobs and travel the world.
Exactly.
I get a little bit more benefit after
that.
A
little bit more teeth to where it's a little bit more specific. So if it's a golf thing, it's like it's like 70 yards in 7 minutes formula or whatever it is.
Increase your swing by 70 yards in 7 minutes.
All of a sudden it gives it a little bit more And then
more juice.
And he does do that. So this is kind of the turning point. So the turning point for him, and I would have given it even more detail to what the turning point was. So it would have been like it was a mentor that taught us the 3-step, or it was this webinar. All of a sudden I clicked on an ad right
there. How did you discover it? Now, Rob obviously is like, I found the 3-step formula, but getting into more detail of how that came about would have made this a little bit more sticky.
Yep. Just give it a little bit more teeth. Rob, if you're watching
and
this,
what's cool, Rob, congrats, good work and stuff. What's cool about this is, like we said, it doesn't have to be perfect to make money.
No.
And this skill set that we're teaching you right now, guys, me and Landon don't even have it perfect. We continually craft and refine our skill sets in writing, in language, and inspiration, and influence. Like, it's a never-ending skill set that always can get better.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And so he tells us turning point. Again, I would be a little bit more detailed. I would be like, you know what? I clicked an ad on Facebook.
I was up. I couldn't sleep one night because I was scared to pay the bills. I was 2 a.m. And all of a sudden I came across a video just like this. Or I came across an ad or a story just like this.
And I found my first mentor. And I discovered my first mentor who taught me the simple 3-step formula. And
that I'm about to teach you here next.
Yeah, it's just, it's just, sometimes it's small words that make a big difference. You know what I mean?
It's called wordsmithing.
Yeah, exactly. So then we have pleasure solution. And again, he is following literally our exact template. Like, he literally looked at this exact template and just followed it.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's something to be said for just following, but let's prove it. So then he says, in fact, we just created our first $1,000 day online after struggling in our business for years. And so now again, he's using results. Stace, what do we talk about here if I don't have results?
You talk about the future. You talk about your internal and external excitement moving forward. You future pace what's possible for you. Even though you haven't made thousands yet, well, guess what? You're positioned to.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, it's like I found the 3-step formula. Now all of a sudden, I see myself, like, one of my big dreams as a kid was to travel around the world, and now I've actually got the opportunity to do that for the first time ever.
Now we're looking at places in Hawaii. We're looking at places in Mexico for this year.
I thought retirement was a pipe dream and it would never happen for me. Now all of a sudden we're starting to plan out our retirement. We're starting to fund some retirement. Like,
I used to walk around and have nobody to talk to about my business. Now I have systems and I have automation. I have ads that run for me 24 hours a day while I'm off doing other things, just like the one you're reading right now.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many things you can talk about. Whatever is your triggers, right? Yeah. It could be, you know what? I was just tired of all of my old friends. They were so negative, and they didn't have any dreams. And now all of a sudden, after starting this internet business, I'm in this community of just thriving entrepreneurs on the cutting edge of technology.
Yeah.
And whatever, everyone buys for different reasons, right?
Yeah.
For you, it could have been community. For you, it could have been systems. For you, it could have been commissions. If you don't have, if you have results, share them, right? No harm in sharing your results.
And again, this is your first story ad.
Yeah.
Most likely. So get something out there.
Yeah.
Things are going to change.
And again, if you're in a different niche, some of you are.
Yeah.
Some of you're in different things, and that's okay. This applies to everything. If it's the weight loss thing, it's like, finally I see. We've given a million examples.
Yeah,
so this applies to everything.
Yeah.
And then he says, this stuff is powerful. We believe it can change your life. Call to action. So here's what you need to do next. This is where Rob says, here's what I've got, and here's how to get it. Here's what to do. So essentially, that's what it is. So what we do is we explain our lead magnet, which might be a webinar. It might be a free PDF, a cheat sheet, a 7-minute video. Yep. We have our thing that's going to attract the lead, our free thing. We talked about a lot at the beginning of this video. You say, this is what I've got. Here's how to get it. Here's what to do next. So here's what he says. He says, we put together a quick micro training with the help of my 2 mentors, Landon and Stace, to lay out all the details. These 2 friends and mentors have used this exact formula to generate 6-figure business online. So he's kind of given a little bit of the features and benefits of the lead magnet, which we will want to do. You want to explain a little bit. It's like, I put together this cheat sheet. This cheat sheet's going to show you. So you're kind of selling the thing you're given.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay,
100%.
cool. And then you'll learn exactly how you've been able to do this at the link below. Once you click the link, we'll show you exactly how to immediately apply the 3-step formula into your own life. And then he actually had his link here. Now there's a lot, and I took it out just for the sake, but there's a lot you can do differently. Number 1, he never actually specifically says, here's what you need to do now. Click the link below. He just says, once you click the link below, what I would do. So here's what I would do. And I would
add an extra sentence right below it or something.
Exactly. The first one would be, so being able to do when you click this link below. So here's what you need to do now. Yeah, I would literally say, so here's what you need to do now. Click this link, and then I would have the link. And then I would say, when you click the link, we'll show you exactly.
So you would add a link in between that.
I would add basically a link right here. Exactly. Tell them, click this link. I'd add the link again. And then I'd probably even add one more sentence. It's like, again, as soon as you click this link, we're going to show you exactly how to do blank, blank, blank.
And on the next page.
And I would continue selling. We like to have 2 to 3 links. So we drop the link once, and then we continue selling the lead magnet. Drop the link again, continue selling the lead magnet, drop the link again.
Don't assume that they're going to know what to do.
The more times you tell people, and obviously you could overdo it.
You don't want to overdo it.
You know, 3 is probably the max. I've never done more than 3. Yeah. 2 to 3 is solid.
And a lot of times these links are at the last 40 to 30% of the ad.
Yeah.
Because if you put the link too soon, they won't have any context. Exactly. And you're actually going to be paying for clicks without anyone really knowing what they're clicking
Exactly, because you might be like, well, Landon Stapes, they have to read all of this. If I put the link right here, more people would click, right? Yes, but our goal isn't a click.
Yeah.
Our goal is a sale.
Yeah.
And if this person doesn't have any context of who we are or why they're clicking the link, what they're going to get, are they likely to become a lead?
No.
Are they if they're not going to spend 2 minutes reading an ad, are they going to spend 2 hours watching a video?
No. No.
Exactly. So we want them to read it so they have context. Now, Stapes, how long should the ad be?
It varies. It totally varies. It could be a few sentences, a paragraph. It could be, my first ad I think was 600 words. It's a little longer. But honestly, we've seen ads work that are just a sentence or just a few paragraphs.
All links work. The important thing is not the link. The important link is the entertaining value. Yeah. Think of it like this, okay? There's been times in your lives where you buy a book, right? Think about it like this. You buy a book, you read the first chapter of the book, and it feels like you've been reading that book forever, and you never read another sentence more, right?
Yeah.
To you, that book was so freaking long, even though you just read one chapter of it. There are other times you pick up a book that's so interesting, so compelling, you literally can't put it down.
Now for a story ad, when you're writing a story ad, I would say about Rob's length here. What do you think? It's about it's about right.
It's about
you don't want to go too, like we were saying before, you want people to have enough context to know what they're going for here.
Exactly.
So I would say this is about right.
As long as you're interesting and entertaining.
Exactly.
Because here's the thing. You could write an ad that's 2 paragraphs, so shorter, right?
Yeah.
Way shorter, but if it isn't interesting and compelling, people still won't read it. It could be way longer. If it's interesting and compelling, people will still read it.
Yep.
Within a balance, it's obviously yin and yang, up and down, back. Sure. But this is about, when you're going to write your ad, I would probably compare it to about this length and kind of get it around that. Now, if you said all you need to say and it's shorter, go. Exactly. That's perfect.
I would start about right here. If you're watching this, I would start about right here where Rob's at. I mean, obviously, it doesn't have a ton of filler. It's pretty much pop, 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 pop right there. You can go and click another one of Rob's ads. You can check out my story examples, which are a little longer.
Story ads right here.
Kason's is cool because he has some
$6,000 in 48 hours with this ad.
Yeah, Kason did he did 6K in 48 hours. I think he's up to like 10K with us now. The thing I like about Kason's is he had emojis into his.
Well, that's a good point. That's a little bit. We'll probably teach more of that in the advanced booster
optimization stuff.
Yeah, in the advanced, we'll have an advanced booster section, which is a bunch of booster trainings on how to make everything even better. We'll teach how to insert emojis into your ads. Only if you use emojis in your real life. You know what I mean? If you don't use them, but that's something that can increase conversions. And you'll notice that all of these ads, they're all a little different. Some of them follow the 5 steps exactly. Some of them weave in and out of the steps. Some of them might not have one of the steps, and it's fine. There's a million ways to do it. This is just the principle, and if you stick close to this principle, you're going to have a really good shot at writing a really good ad. And that, my friends, is how you write a story ad. Again, what we're going to do, you
practice one now.
Yeah, and you can open up this workbook. We've got a few examples you can read through right here. Again, one of the final modules of this training series is going to be case studies, where we're just going to go through ad after ad. You can go through those training videos as well. And then...
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
You go first.
I was going to say one more vaccination before you guys dive into this. Give yourself permission to really sit down and write this thing out, maybe an hour.
Yeah.
You know, I spent maybe 20 minutes, but give it some time. But don't sit down and think you're going to spend a week on this thing and get it perfect. We don't want you like thinking this is going to be the end all be all Hollywood blockbuster story act. We need you out there getting data as soon as possible. We're going to go into details on how we start you off. We start you off very small, just a few bucks a day. But what we need right away is data. We need to see what works, what doesn't work.
That's great.
So get your story out there.
That's a great point. The reality is you don't know if it's perfect or not until you actually place it. So just like
I spent a little more time on my first story ad than I probably should have.
Yeah.
I spent like hours on mine, which is fine.
And it's okay
to give yourself permission.
Yeah. It's okay to spend some time on it because again, this 2 hours you spend on this ad can make you tens of thousands of bucks. So it's okay to give us some time. But like Steve says, this isn't a 2-month thing where we're trying to get it perfect. This is like a day.
This isn't a week.
It's a 1 to 2 day thing. Maybe spend an hour one day, write it, the next day edit it.
Yeah,
and then,
I like that.
You know what I mean? And then go in. One thing I do with almost all of my writing that's important, that's going to be evergreen and long lasting, is I do it over 2 days.
Yeah.
I like to sleep on it and edit it the next day.
That's actually a writing strategy. I was just reading a strategy on writing. They said you want to write it with your heart pumping on right, and then you want to walk away from it.
Okay.
And then you come back. This is essentially what you do.
Yeah.
You come back the next day and you see the new set of eyes.
Exactly. I feel like a new person saying I'm like, why did I say that?
Yeah.
But, you know, and then I can make it a little bit better. But you don't want to do that for a week. Like say, just do it for a day or two. And so here's what we're going to be doing. In the next module, we're going to go over video ads. Even if you aren't planning on doing a video ad, I would still just watch it because we're going to go over some useful information. It's going to be a little shorter because it is the same framework, and so it's going to be a little bit shorter than this one. But I would still watch it just to get that. Then what we'll do is actually show you how to go and set up your ad account, right? What I would do, though, is before you watch the training videos on how to set up an ad account, how to place the ad, before you, like, because our tendency is this. Our tendency is we want all of the information before we do anything. Yeah. It's like I want to know how to place the ad. I want to have my ad account.
That's our hardwiring.
I want to have a fan page. Because what it is, like, I don't want to make mistakes because I got an F in school when I made a mistake. There's no mistakes. So what we do, before you do all of that, write the ad first while it's fresh, while you just went through this. Watch this multiple times. We went over a lot of information here. Yeah. Watch it a few times. Give yourself permission to do that. And I would write this first, just in a document. Like this is Google Docs right here. You can write it in that. You can write it in Word doc, notes, whatever. Write it first, and then what we'll do is we'll show you how to set up your ad accounts, and then how to actually place that ad on Facebook. Don't worry about the nitty-gritty specifics yet. For now, just write the ad. Get your story out. That's the best place to start. Steve, you agree?
Love it. Let's get you guys rocking and rolling. Cool. And I'm pumped to see some of your story ads.
See you guys in the next video. Bye.